Hello and welcome to the Terran Imperial Monarchy's Weapons System Training Course. This course is brought to you by the Colonial Naval Academy, located on Cav. I'm Captain Jim Jericho of the CN and will be your instructor for today. Our lesson today will be on laser systems. Laser systems, also known in a wide variety of other names depending on their use, are direct energy devices that utilize light in a very focused, narrow beam. We will be exploring the variety of laser systems from the mundane to the military applied weapons. We will, of course, learn about its functionality, history, followed by its implementations in our current era. So with that, let us begin. The laser is a device that emits light through a process of optical amplification based on the simulated emissions of electromagnetic radiation. Basically, it is a device that shines an extremely narrow and focused beam of light that can travel a great distance before it begins to dissipate. The laser beam, that being the light projected from the laser device, is very different from natural light or light produced from light bulbs or similar illumination devices. The beam is comprised of a single color wavelength as opposed to a solar system's sun, which will emit all visible and non-visible wavelengths, which combined appears as a white light. Each color emitted by the light has a different wavelength, and that light travels along the peaks of that wavelength. For example, red light has a long wavelength, making the beam narrow, while violet has a shorter wavelength, making the beam wider. The use of the laser does vary from application to application, and the energy needed to use such a device may also vary. Lasers have been and are still used today as a means of measuring distance, drilling holes, or sending information where discretion may be needed over great distances. And of course, there is the military application of said devices. Shortly after the First Great War ended in 1917, a theoretical physicist by the name of Albert Einstein of Germany established the theoretical foundations for the laser in a paper on the quantum theory of radiation. In 1928, a German atomic physicist, Rudolf W. Lundberg, confirmed the existence of the phenomena of simulated emissions and negative absorptions. A year after the beginning of the Second Great War, in 1939, a Russian physicist and mathematician, Valentin A. Fabrak, I'm sure I just slaughtered your name, predicted the use of simulated emissions to amplify shortwaves. In 1947, a physicist by the name of Alfred Kastler proposed the method of optical pumping. The optical pumping is a process in which light is used to raise or pump, as it were, electrons from a lower energy level on a atomic or molecular to a higher energy level. In 1951, Joseph Weber submitted a paper on using simulated emissions to make a microwave amplifier to the June 1952 Institute of Radio Engineers Vacuum Tube Research Conference in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. In 1957, a Japanese engineer, Junichi Nakasawa, I hope I pronounced your name right, proposed the concept of semiconductor optical Mauser in a patent application. In 1959, Gordon Gould first published the acronym LASER in a paper, The Laser Light Amplification by Simulated Emissions of Radiation. On May 16, 1960, Theodore H. Ma'am, not to be confused with the guy that tried to raid the entire whole Sol system, operated the first functioning laser at Hughes Research Laboratories, Malibu, California. And, of course, in 1963, three American military officers, Clyde Gibson, John Zabrowski, and Bobby May, proposed the first weaponized satellite system. Their design would be shelved as unnecessary and unneeded, with the world's government being unified, for once, under the imperial monarchy, but that would later be looked at after the 1969 invasion. In the early years of space exploration, colonization, and terraforming, the laser became a very versatile tool. A simple light at the end of a pen to a high-powered system made to either measure great distances or cut into ice and rock. The commercial use of the tech proved to be extremely valuable, as it allowed many early mining companies to make quite the profit, reduce the overhead use of the drills, and reduce the chances of accidents on the job with the disuse of said drills. The explosives, of course, were still used to break rocks in the area, making tunnels and such. However, the laser drill, which was a low-range, high-intensity beam, would cut adequately deep holes into the rock face, from which a charge could be plunged into the newly formed cavity and detonated. In the case of a quarry, the same drill would be modified and used to slice instead of bore into rock faces, hewing large chunks of precious stone like marble. However, this tech was very bulky, cumbersome, and required a lot of maintenance. Despite this early limitation, the laser would eventually become weaponized. However, the advancements in this area of the tech was many years behind its industrial cousin, as the size of the equipment had yet to be made for the average foot soldier and would have to be mounted on a vehicle of some sort. That and the power needed to operate such a compact capacity would still require a generator with sufficient power capacitance. That conundrum would be resolved after the Gauss rifle came to the fore. Regardless of the advancements in the Terran laser tech, during the 1969 invasion, humanity found its avenue of defense was woefully underpowered. Capacitors would blow out, lenses would burn out, heat sinks would melt. The system could not output enough direct energy to cause enough damage to a well-armored foe without becoming slag. But even though the laser was the weaker system compared to its kinetic counterpart, the laser system did receive its notoriety in the war in the form of the GZM/N0FUX, or No Fucks, one-shot portable cannon. The shoulder-mounted weapon system that required two persons to carry and operate in the field. One man would carry the laser apparatus while the second man carried the batteries and spare lenses. The one shot could be loaded with a pre-charged capacitor and a fresh lens, and the operator of the device would simply point a red weapon at the intended target and squeeze the trigger. A quick flash of light would emit from the cannon, the target would be struck, and the capacitors and lens would have to be changed out if needed to be fired again. By the end of the war, the issues previously noted would have been more or less figured out, and later further improved upon. Especially the development of the one-of-a-kind energy field lens. The lens by itself promoted greater beam cohesion, longer range, and a higher rate of fire before requiring maintenance. These upgrades brought in a new era of energy beam tech designs. For example, the shoulder-mounted mini-laser cannon that were first designed were for the first Star Marines that fought back and then hunted down the pirates that attacked Terra, proved to be deadly effective in cutting down the pirate filth. capable of following the Marine's head or their eyes with the integrated helmet on. The weapon would fire through thought command if the helm was equipped with a built-in neuroscanner or by voice command. If the Marine had a VI built into the suit, then the cannon would move and fire independently while in combat. Even spacers have been known to carry around some sort of laser weapon or tool on their belts. Sometimes the devices serve both roles. Depending on the modifications built into the device, it could be used to cut sections off a ship, weld sheets of metal together, or blast an enemy intruder. As a final example, the GZM/No-Fucks from the Invasion days, it did get a facelift. It was increased in size and length, improved in every way imaginable, with auto rebalancing and refocusing lens system, state-of-the-art heat sinks, and so much more. After receiving so much attention, it was given the new designation, the GZM Broadside, and it was mounted on light to medium tanks. This newer variant of the old one-shot was more than capable of taking down ranged targets with deadly precise hits that would either disable or destroy an enemy light armored vehicle. And it's not to say that there aren't larger and meaner laser systems out there. There most definitely are. It's just that due to time restraints, we just can't go over all of them. So, there you have it. The laser system. A tool in the early days of exploration, made to shape, build, and work for many of the colonies taking root, and by necessity turned into a weapon. Limited only by the amount of research that was initially put into it, but later proven to be a most valuable tool in the Terran arsenal. The energy beam laser system is a very versatile piece of tech that serves the dual purpose of tool of peace and a tool of war. And let it be known that no sane spacer would dare leave home without some form of laser tool in their employ. For further information on energy beam weapons or laser systems, you can find it on Terra/Wikipedia on the GNet. That's all we have for you today. Thank you for your time. You are dismissed.